This week, Mevarchim Chodesh Adar. Mevarchim Chodesh Adar. Mishanichnas Adar Marbin Besimcha. So we can already start. We're 3 weeks away tonight from Purim. 3 weeks from tonight. 3 weeks from today is Tainas Esther. We're in less than Shloshim Yom. We can already start learning a bissale about the Megillah. Steht in the Gemara Azoi. Haman min ha-Torah minayin. Mordechai min ha-Torah minayin. Esther min ha-Torah minayin. Actually, the Gemara actually begins with the following. It's a shtikle Gemara in Perek Shiluach Hakan. The Torah Kedosha writes, Ki yikre kan tzipor lefanecha baderech. Oy be'etz, or bechol eitz, oy al ha'aretz. If you find a kan, a nest of a tzipor, you find it on a tree, ba'aretz. The Gemara learns out that only when it's in such places are you mechuyev b'shluach hakan. Says the Gemara a question. How about Motza kan bayam, if you found it in the ocean, chayiv b'shiluach, shenemer kaim Hashem anoisim bayam, derech. Since derech is shayach to a yam, Motza baderech, bayam is also. Elamata Motza kan b'shamayim, dechsev derech nesher b'shamayim, hochinami d'mechayiv. Says the Gemara, no, that's called derech nesher, it's not a regular derech. Meaning, it has to be the derech of like a person, and the derech of an eagle is no good. Amalei Rav Papanoilu Rav Masna. You ready? Motza kan beroishoi shel adam. You found a nest on the head of a person. Motza kan beroishoi shel adam. Mahu. Are you mechuyev shiluach hakan or not? If you take a look at your Maharal, the Maharal begins with this shaila. Motza kan b'roisha shel adam mahu. Amalei ve'adoma al roishoi means that the head of a person, haist ochet adoma, is also called adoma. So that would mean that the head of the person also is mechuyev shluach hakan. The next question of the Gemara, my Rabbi say, is Moshe min ha-Torah minayin. And how do you know Moshe is merumaz in the Torah? Shenemar, like it says, b'shagam hu basar. By the Mabul at the end of Parshas Bereshis, la yodin ruchi ba'olam. I will not. Rabbi has changed his mind about mankind. He's going to bring a mabul. La yodin ruchi ba'olam. B'shagam is gematria Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a fascinating concept. We're going to talk about it soon. Moshe Rabbeinu is everywhere in the Torah. I need to have Reb Shol do hasta. What do I need to have a remez for Moshe Rabbeinu? He's everywhere. Right? What's a remez? You'll see. Haman min ha-Torah minayin. How do I know Haman? Hamin ha'etz. From the Eitz Hadas. Hamin is the letters Haman. Esther min ha-Torah minayin. V'anoichi hastir astir. Parks pasuk and devarim. And Mordechai min ha-Torah minayin. T'chsiv morderor by the Ketores. V'targaminon moridachya. Moridachya sounds like Mordechai. What a strange Gemara. You're asking me, v'yesh l'tma, ma shailu davka menayin hey min ha-Torah. What kind of shidduch is this? Moshe, Haman, Mordechai, Esther. From all of them mention Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. How about them min ha-Torah minayin? Why don't you ask about them? Why don't you ask, what about Moshe? What's up with Moshe? How does the Gemara pivot from you found a can of eggs, a tzipor, a nest on a person's head? Was he a scarecrow? He's not doing a good job. Yeah, on a person, it's a person, and there's a nest there And are you mechuyev shiluach hakan? And the next question is Moshe min atar minayin. Was tutzachto? What's going on? V'achikach Moshe min atar minayin. V'yirali, you need to be the Maharal and have almost ruach hakodesh to see, for the Maharal to pull out. This is, I'll get on a limb and say this is one of the best Maharals we've ever done. Listen to this Maharal. What the Maharal pulls out of this Gemara. Zog tehele Gemara, v'yirali, ki chol inyan hashayla la'odam u'mal malosai. The Gemara's question about shluach hakan with a nest on the top of a person's head has nothing really to do with shluach hakan. It's not a shluach hakan question. It's understanding the capacity and who a human being is, the essence of a human being. How so? How so? What is the Gemara asking? Continues the Maharal. What is a man and what is his malosei? V'lekach shal motzu kal rosh adam. Im nemar ki adam avshu bal adama. Although a person comes from the dust of the earth and he's a bal adama, mekom mokem yesh lo haseichel erhot toch seichel, which the seichel has a koyach to pick the person up and make him into, right? He's a drop less than the Eibishter. A person, the Gemara says, Sanhedrin, we just had it not so long ago, just the other day, Adam in Gan Eden, the Malachim were giving him, they were roasting meat for him, and they were being misanen yayin for him. They were serving him as though they thought that he was ro'ui to be served. Ro'ui to be served. So, v'lekach nechshav ha'odam ki'ilu l'mayla mitzad ha'seichel asher yesh lo. The seichel of a person picks a person up so high that you can maybe assume, take a position as nishkein bal adama. As a himmelmensch. He's a person from heaven. In other words, a human being has two extremes. He's from the Adama, that's his body. But his seichel is a seichel elokai mimal. He's got a capacity to be able to figure things out and to be connected to the Eibishter, and he could be even bigger, like we just saw in the Zerah Shimshon, even bigger than the Malachim. V'lekach Omar, you know what the Gemara's question was? Does the head of the person have a din of Adama, or does it not have a din of Adama? Is the head of the person, does the Mokaim where the Seichel rests, does it identify as the Adam or not? Mitzad echad, an Adam is the Chabal Adama. He comes from the ground. Aber inside the person, in sein Kepale, is doch da, there is the Seichel, which gives a person the Koyach to rise above even the angels. So, here's my philosophical question, says the Gemara. If I found a Kan on his head, is that still called Adama? In other words, is the fact that the seichel is in the person, so his entirety is still known as Adam Adama, or can I actually split the person and say, since the head, which has the capacity to be filled with so much seichel Elokai, is really not Adama anymore. So the Gemara's question is not a practical question, more than it's a philosophical question. What is the status of a person with this dimension, the dichotomy of the person? That's right. That's why the Gemara says, Since it says it has to be b'derech ha'aretz, Raminon motza kan b'shamayim ein chayiv shiluach ki davke kan ba'aretz chayiv shiluach v'lekacham motza kan b'roisha shel adam ki roisha shel adam shama seichel. That's where the seichel is. V'lekach shoylem nechshav adam. Next column, Rabbi say shehu ba'aretz v'chayiv b'shiluach is the seichel of the mensch. The seichel of the mensch hebt oif a mensch as the chelik haroish is a zoivi raglav munach ala oretz v'roishoy bashamayim. So is his roish like shamayim? So when the kan is on the head, it's not on the oretz. Other name? Oinemeki mitzara seichel nechshav sheinem ba'oretz v'chayit. Is it v'chayiv b'shluch because it's ba'oretz, or it's ein chayiv b'shluch? Tosa the shayla. V'hishav loy, and you know what he said? Adama al roishoi. Even the adama part goes up till the head, which means ki av al roishoi nikra adama. Even the roish is called. At the end of the day, it's one body, and even though his seichel is so great, aber is nachaltz achelik adama. It's completely below. The imshu al roishe shel adam asher sama seichel v'av she'aseichel mekoyme lamala im kol zeh lo yibotel mimenu shem adama. The name adama has not left, and it's still shayich to the adam. V'lekach shoyel, and therefore the Gemara asks the question: You mean to tell me that a person top to bottom is kol kulei adama v'snachena? You mean to say that kan b'roishay, when you have a kan b'roishay, it's called adama? So you mean to say even the chelik ha'adam has seichel is also called adama? But wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu known as Ish Elokim? Wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu the person who brought the Torah down? So Moshe min ha-Torah minayin is from Vikim Tarosa, Moshe Rabbeinu, if a person is Adama from top to bottom.
Because he was different. He went up to the heaven.
But how does he come? How is it possible? I mentioned the Chadama from top to bottom. If you would have said that the Rosh is considered Shamayim, which means that there's no mitzvah of Shiluach HaKan when the nest is on its head, then I understand. The Chelik HaGuf is the Chelik HaGashmi, but within the Chelik HaGashmi, the Chelik Nishmi, and that the Chelik Nisham is Shayach Tzil Hel Yoinim. And even the Guf can sich ziestellen into the Neshama, correct? But if you're telling me now that even that's the Pikhus, that's the words of the Gemara, only the Maharal can find such a soid in the Gemara. The Gemara's shaila about whether you have to make shiluach hakan when the nest is on the top of the head, says the Maharal, is a lumdish shaila if the man's seichel is able to bring the chelek haguf as seheis nisht adama, seheis shamayim, that kilo the guf is mischaber and the guf heishoy nisht adama. Other name, even the Rosh is called Adama. Frank the Gemara, if you're resolving to say that even the Rosh is Adama, so Moshe Rabbeinu was a person that the Neshama, Arboim Yoim, Lechem Lo Yachalti, Laim Lo Shasisi. But Moshe Rabbeinu giving the ganze Guf is giving Eichetimtza for Neshama. I once told you the Maharal. What does it mean, V'lo Yodishas Kfuros? How come we don't know where he's buried? How come nobody knows? The Gemara says, right, and state in the Torah Kedoshah, at the end, V'lo Yoda, the Eibishter buried him himself. The Gemara in Saita says they went to go excavate. They looked at the bottom, they looked at the top. The people, state Maharal, Moshe Rabbeinu's guf was a hechitimtza for his neshama. Our guf, unfortunately, has its own ritzainis. Not always does the guf do what the neshama wants. Right? Today I had such a ha'ara. When a person eats, the Gemara says in Brachas, sometimes you can do something that your neshama is happy with, and sometimes your neshama is not happy with. You know that? Adam Arishan in Gan Eden, The Eibishter told him, when he ate from that eitz hadas, do you think his neshama wanted to eat from it? Of course not. The kind neshama shasat be tahiri, the neshama didn't want to eat from it. His body went and did and ate something which the neshama didn't want. That's why he created misa. Misa means when the guf and the neshama are not connected to each other. As when he was created, the guf, like we say, he made a Frankenstein. He made a monster. He made a guf that does what the neshama doesn't want. When a person eats and he makes a bracha, then his guf is doing what the neshama wants. But if not, says the Gemara, Levi Rami, Ksiv Shemaim Shemaim Lashem v'Oretz L'Samvei Adam. And state, right, and it says, Oretz U'Meloi L'Cha, right, the Eibishter you have, Shemaim v'Oretz V'Chol Meloi, everything belongs to you. And for the Gemara, kan koydem bracha, kan la'achar bracha. If you make a bracha, v'Oretz Nasan L'Bnei Adam. L'Hashem ha'Oretz U'Meloi. L'Hashem ha'Oretz U'Meloi. If you don't make a bracha, it's L'Hashem. If you make a bracha, if a person eats without a bracha, goynev, the Eibishter goynev knesses Yisrael. So state in the Gemara. Rabbi Sai, I had this einfall today. You're stealing. You're stealing from. When a person eats or drinks and doesn't make a bracha, his neshama is choking on the food. When we don't make a bracha gehedik the way we're supposed to, then the neshama has absolutely, the neshama anyway doesn't have enough from the food, but at least if you're taking and the Eibishter is giving you memachta bracha, so the neshama has enough that the guf shtel sich zu to the neshama. But if a person is not careful, I'm choking on it. What are you doing to me? I have no hanur. Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama igevein only for this neshama was totally taken over. It took over his guf. The guf arboim yoim lechem lo yachalti maim lo shasisi. So says the Maharal, when it came time that the neshama is leaving, what do you mean you're going to bury his body? How by Moshe Rabbeinu was there a body without a guf? You can't go ahead and go to Moshe. We can't have a tfisa on a guf which has no shaykhs whatsoever to its guf. It's only kigil ganze neshama. So frag the Gemara, if you're telling me now that the Adam, that the Khan on his head is called Adama, Moshe min hat. It's exactly the kasha of the Gemara. Bidiyuk daf the Gemara fragging. That's the kasha the Gemara has to ask. If you understand, I hope you understand. If you understand the bidiyuk, after the Gemara says the Maharal, resolve the fact that the Adama is al roishoy. That means that even the chelik aseichol is mutba baguf. Is the guf overtakes the ganze mensch, is v'yazoi kipma Moshe Rabbeinu. Zog the Gemara teretz. Zog the Gemara teretz. You know how I know that there's a Moshe Rabbeinu? Because even before he was mentioned in his guf, his neshama was mentioned back in Sefer Bereshis. That means he was beseichel koydem his guf. Which means there's a musig of the seichel or the neshama that can exist outside of the guf as well. Farse kommt da rein in the guf und noch se geht da raus von der guf. Let's see. Vehishav loy. So v'akach shol achakach Moshe min haTorah. You see our middle column. Kilomer ma'achar shamanu ki odem eina nechshav sichli ba'atzmai. A person ba'atzm is nish sichli. V'lakach afilu adoma al roish roisha odem nikra adoma. Ki seichel odem hu oimid beguf ki ilu who bottle etzloi, because the seichel is bottle, because it's adama from top to bottom. If you could show me that a person, even before he comes to this world, is already merumas in the Torah, that means to say that he has a reality as a koyach, as a neshama, before he entered his guf. So then, at least you've explained to me that although the neshama, when it enters the guf, is bottled to the guf, but the neshama is powerful enough that it can exist beforehand and it can exist afterwards.
What did they before?
I want to explain. Ich will masber sein. Okay, but yeah, we'll do one more paragraph. We're going to have to finish. Maybe we're going to continue next week. V'chein yesh lachshav ki koyachu ha'odam ha'proti she'ein leproti chashivas k'moi zeh v'koidim shimtzu adam gashmi ein leremes b'taras sichli. The Havamina was that if an Adam is an Adam protein, this is who he is, and this is his guf, so that's all he is. What does that mean? Nothing else in the world can you say that before it's here, it's already here. Before it's here, it's already here. You know, before it's here, it's already here. The emes is everybody. But we find it by Moshe, which is the Chelik HaToiv. You find it by Haman, which is the Chelik HaRa, right? And once we have Haman, we have to have Mordechai and Esther. We're not going to talk about that today, but I want to explain one thing. We talked about this last week a little bit. We talked about Tu B'Shvat. And Pshat Hazoy. When Adam and Chava were put in Gan Eden, correct? They weren't given any mitzvahs. Nothing. Lo'avdei l'shamrei, that's it. Es, sei gesund, just don't mess up. Correct? Favos. Vayi Adam v'Chava, they had no clothing, they were naked. V'lo yispaishoshu. Shekven kein busha. You know why? Because the guf was so connected to the neshama, there was no period whatsoever. There was no separation. The neshama and the guf were one. Vosig Yishem, he ate from the Eitz Hadas, right? What happened? They did what their neshama didn't want to do. Okay? Who got kicked out of Gan Eden? The guf. Why can't Adam be in Gan Eden? Because of his guf. His neshama has no problem staying in Gan Eden. As a matter of fact, you know what happens after a person dies? They put the guf in the ground. You know where the neshama goes? Kel molarachmin, Gan Eden tihei nishmasai. It goes right back to Gan Eden. Why not? The neshama belongs in Gan Eden. It says ungefangen Gan Eden. It's only the guf, the verstinkene guf, that gets in the way. That's why the Gemara talks about Amoroyim, like Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who was so mikusher his guf to his neshama, he was able to go in. He took the sword of the Malach HaMavis. The Gemara, he jumped over. Gemara Ksubis, I think, he jumped over the wall. Favus nisht. His guf was so connected to his neshama, it didn't get in the way. Right? Our job in life, you have Ramach Shasa, 248, 365. What? Mitzvahs, Asay, and Loisa. So you know it says the Zohar HaKadosh, to be mechaber the guf to the neshama. Fuse the guf zusammen mit the neshama. You know why? Because that's your whole job in life. That's your whole job. Moshe Rabbeinu's guf mit neshama, it was so much together that he was able, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, Shechina medaberes metoich groinoi. Vayomer Moshe straight in Chazal. By Yaakov, by the psik, there was a hefsek. Moshe, the name of the guf, Moshe, the name of the neshama, was fused together. So the Gemara has a kasha. If a person is Adama from Rosh to the head, you know I have a problem with Moshe Rabbeinu. That's bugging me. I can't understand the pshat. That's the natural next question. The Gemara musfreg. That's the Maharal. Half of Rabbi Isai will continue this Be'ez Hashem next Tavach.